We'll call the meeting to order. That's Mr. Keller, please stand and finish the pledge.
Give Pastor, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you with just humble hearts. We know coming out of Easter, just the blessing of your Son, Jesus Christ, coming to pay for our sins on the cross. We ask that we always keep you first and foremost. We pray for your guidance and your wisdom as we deliberate and make decisions that affect our students, our staff, and our county. Lord, we always just are so thankful for all the blessings that you bestow upon us. We continue to lift up those in the panhandle that are still struggling and have many tough decisions in the days ahead. So we just ask all these things, and we ask for continued wisdom and guidance for our legislators as they come to conference time and make decisions that will ultimately affect each and every one of us here. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Address the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving to B, the adoption of the agenda. For good cause, I'd ask the agenda to be amended as follows. We'd like to reschedule item D to the May 28th board meeting, and item F. We have a conflict on D, and then F, Mr. Bennett had to be at a school for an unscheduled meeting this morning. So, and also amendment to the swap K and L, so we'll do the board workshop before the executive session. His recommendation.
Move as presented.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Okay, item C, we'd like to welcome all visitors this morning. This will be time for public comment. If someone had questions or comments to the board.
You three fine young students from Miss Schuler's class get to stand up and introduce yourselves.
Hi, Miles Snyder.
I'm Alice Moza.
My name is Henry Green.
We sure appreciate Miss Schuler sending you guys.
Good morning. Glad you're here. Okay, that moves us to item E, pre-K update before. Good morning. She has a long presentation for us.
Only 3 minutes before you leave, okay. If I take a break. Just 43 seconds. Good morning, Mr. Superintendent, board members, and counselor. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura Clark, the coordinator of pre-K and student services. I was asked to give an update on pre-K for Levy County. We are currently serving 205 pre-K children district-wide. 138 children are BPK and 67 are students with disabilities. A classroom can be made of 1 teacher to 11 students or 2 teachers to 20 students. Chiefland Elementary this year has 3 classes with 49 students. Joyce Bullock has 5 classes with 83 students. Cedar Key has 1 class with 15. Bronson Elementary has 3 classes with 45 students. And Yankeetown has 1 class with 15 students. This year we added 2 additional classrooms, one at Bronson Elementary and one at Joyce Bullock to meet the totals I just mentioned. And we oversee West Greenwich Charter School as well, and they have 1 class with 18 students this year. So they weren't included in the 205, but that's their own entity. This was our first year using our new curriculum, Frog Street. It's a comprehensive curriculum, included English language arts, math, science, social studies, art, music, and motor areas. In addition to that, it includes a very comprehensive, rich social emotional component, which is awesome for our students. We previously had 2 different curriculums to cover all those areas, and so it's nice to do all in one. All schools have given the Florida Voluntary Pre-Kindergarten Assessments for periods 1 and 2. The assessment covers the areas of print knowledge, phonological awareness, mathematics, oral language, vocabulary. We're preparing to give assessment 3 beginning May 1st. We have the last 30 days of school until that's given. Growth's being made, and we're anxiously awaiting final scores. We appreciate the emphasis and investment that the superintendent and school board members have put into pre-K, the full-day pre-K. We're hoping to see great things from our scores as they enter kindergarten and on. We're tracking those students. and we expect they all to be better prepared because they are here with us before. Some of the kindergarten teachers comment that it's interesting to say they can tell when our kids came from us. Our pre-K students are in their classroom. They said without even looking, they can tell where our children, and that to me says volumes that we're doing a great job and prepared, and the kids are used to the environment and things like that, and so I think it just gives them a leg up when they're ready to come. They're familiar with the setting, the buses, the lunchroom, the nurse station, the principal, and so they already have that security, and then they know the routine, so they just have to meet the new teacher and their new classmates when they start the new school year. So that's our update on our pre-K. Having fun, and how about questions?
Aren't there going to be some changes in the assessment the kids are going to be having?
So the BPK state assessment is 3 times a year, that will stay the same. And that's the one we give, our teachers actually give their own students 3 times a year. Sometimes I'll go in and give some of them, just a spot check too. But then the Flickers, the Florida Kindergarten Readiness Springer is given at the first 30 days of school when the kids in kindergarten for all children. And that, who is first year attending kindergarten, that our state mandated that rule, and that will be good for 1 more year. And so I don't know if they'll adopt that. So we'll take it again in August, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But this is the last year of that test. There will be a test, just who the vendor will be could change.
On the 205, are all those all-day pre-K, PPK?
Yes, sir. Well, some of the ESE students is based on their need and how much they attend.
So the 67 children with disabilities, are they given the assessment also, assessment?
They are given a separate assessment.
And then the May 1st, is that like the roundup or when you start the assessments, or have you already done that?
So the roundups have been completed at all the schools. There are a few that didn't get in that still would like one, and so I'm scheduling those privately or, at the schools. But, so we've done that for next year. We have about, district-wide, about 63 BPK certificates for next year. And then we'll have some of our students with disabilities returning. And we have quadrupled the number of students with disabilities coming in since I started 10 years ago.
Wow. I would really just like everybody to know that I had a very anxious first-time parent that was extremely nervous about school and getting her child in pre-K, and so I contacted Laura personally. She made the arrangements to come and meet with her, talk with her, just very, very accommodating, just really eased her nerves, assured her about the curriculum. I think she even met with her privately, with the assessment. I don't know if you have or done that or anything, but just truly way, way over, above and beyond, for the, really assured that parent, for the child's needs. So I really appreciate what she did.
Laura, I know we've talked about when we come to the board asking for more people, and we talked about how we're going to staff these folks and when we're going to come to them. Can you explain to them? Because I know you went in and talked about one for, what is it, 10 or 11?
Yes, sir, one for, so it's hard to know, forecasting out what the numbers are gonna look like, because we have the VPK certificates, but we don't have them all, and typically it's voluntary, so even though we have them, that doesn't mean the parent has to bring them. So it's not until they're actually in the classroom that we can count them, that's a kid in the classroom, so we're trying to forecast how many we will have. And it's very hard to plan the classrooms, and so we had talked about, well, do we just start out with fewer classrooms, or do we keep the same number of classrooms we have and start with 11 in those classrooms, and then add a para if needed? And so those were some of the decisions we were talking about in the staffing, and we came to the conclusion that probably it'd be best to go ahead and have those classrooms, and then as we got the students, add the paraprofessional, because that'd be much easier than trying to open a classroom, because we did open those 2, one in September and one in October this year, and that was extremely difficult coalition-wise and setting those up. It's easier if you have the classroom established and started, and we have the curriculum, we have the teachers.
All right, what about the process, just because this parent was inquiring and they don't, I think students, or if they have, siblings, they really know about it. What about ones that don't have the siblings and getting the word about getting the certificate? What's the process on that and advertising so the kids do know that we have this program and they can get into pre-K?
So the state does advertising because it's voluntary pre-kindergarten for all. And this website that they have to go on to, it doesn't say, you don't pick your school at that time, you're just applying, all you have to prove is that your child is 4 and that you live in the state of Florida for their website. And then once they get this certificate, they take it to the school. What we do is we have a flyer in English and Spanish at all the schools. So if a parent calls, or they can call me, we work it out that way. And then there's advertising all around. They really get confused because we're paid 3 hours a day is what the state pays us for, reimburses us for VPK. And so there's competing people, daycares and Head Start and things for these certificates. And they can turn their certificates in multiple places too. That's another way it's hard to predict of how many you will have.
Right, I think that is kind of confusing.
Yes, it is very. So we put it out as clearly as possible, the steps. And then, of course, I have my contact number and the coalition's contact number. And that they all went to online too. But our schools are very nice. They're letting the parents come in and use their computers or print. They'll call me and say, I did it all, can you print it? That's of course. So we're working with them as we all learn the computer system.
So is the school district for an FTE from these kids, and they're full-time? So you earn FTE for each student, or,
So,
if they're just there for part of the day?
so the state pays for, we earn FTE for our students with disabilities. And then we have VPK money from the Office of Early Learning. We turn in attendance every month that we get for the VPK students.
So you said you do testing on the students?
Yes, sir, it's required VPK assessment 3 times a year.
So that's, of course, obviously quite different from the rest of the older students, but so the state pays attention to that? Is that part of your school grade for the?
It is not part of the school grade. The state does pay attention to it, but right now the pre-Ks are measured by the Flickr scores that they take in kindergarten. And those scores haven't been released for this current year yet.
What is the Flickr score?
The Florida Kindergarten Readiness Screener. That's given out to all kindergartners the first 30 days of school.
Oh, they're ready for kindergarten, huh?
Right, it gives them a score, and so, and kindergarten teachers use that then to start their interventions, to see where their children are, and ready to start moving to teaching. That's how it is.
How old are the pre-K?
Pre-K, so our pre-K is made up of 2 different sets of children, those who are VPK. VPK requirements are you must be on or before September 1st of that school year. Students with disabilities may enter school the day on or before their 3rd birthday.
And daycares that take the VPK voucher, they are assessed just like we are.
And it is only 3 hours a day that they pay for. So our school board and superintendent voted to pay all day for our children to come all day for free. So there is no charge.
The disabilities are learning disabilities or physical disabilities?
It's varied.
Yes.
And they're not separated at all, Lauren?
No, ma'am, full inclusion. We do have one hospital homebound, but he has to be medically.
And those children, the 3 and 4-year-olds, are they identified at VP or at school? I mean, they're already labeled, for lack of a better word, before they enter?
Yes, yes. Well, it depends. When they're 3 and they're coming in on or before their 3rd birthday, they are evaluated. Fiddler's Child Find finds them, and then our school psychologist evaluates them. We meet, staff them, and then they start school. But if we have VPKers or some other children that come in and we suspect a disability, then they are also tested. So you could be multiple ages as that happens.
Laura, how many of those 67 are the 3-year-olds?
Do not have that accurate information.
No worries.
And their birthdays, they have birthdays.
Right, and I know
long
that
ago.
some, so I just was curious how many are that are identified by fiddlers that then we're trying to serve, so.
Through that process. There's typically served at early steps first, and then we get them, so early steps covers birth to 2, and we get them on their third birthday. Early Steps drops off on the day of their third birthday.
Yes, sir, Mr. Goucher.
If you don't mind, I probably should know this, but how are the assessments done? What's the testing format for VPK and for Flickr?
So VPK is given one-on-one by the classroom teacher, typically. Sometimes it's me, but we all have to be trained. And then the scores are entered onto a website, Right Beginnings, and they're scored in the 4 areas: prep knowledge, phonological awareness, mathematics, and oral language and vocabulary.
Okay, and for Flickr, are they sitting at a computer working a mouse, or is it also administered by the teacher?
So we have a Flickers training every year. Ms. Boganum and I go train all of the lead kindergarten teachers, and they train their teachers. And we, in our district, we ask that they are done on an iPad, so it removes the mouse problems or computer transferring, and so they're given it either one-on-one or in a small group.
And how long does that typically take at the beginning of kindergarten to get through an entire kindergarten class?
It's around 27 questions. Typically takes about 15 minutes per kid.
Won't you have some speech?
It takes weeks to get through all kindergartners when you're trying to do it one-on-one or, a very small group. Because we have to remember it's done, they're brand new to kindergarten. So you have some that have been to VK and some that have not. So you've got those that are still crying for mom, and you can't administer a test when they're in that emotional state. So you have to develop some rapport with them and get them comfortable. So the window is 30 days, or so it takes that entire 30-day window to complete it.
Is that a lot of lost instructional time at the beginning of kindergarten?
Well, we try to do it with like one class at a time, so that we've got other supports in there. And so you may do 1 or 2 classes, and the rest of the class, the other 3 classrooms at Bronson Elementary are instructing. And then we'll move on to them when we're finished. So we try to spread it out that way. So it's not total loss of instructional time. But it is at the beginning of the year, and you are spending that one-on-one time with the child. So it's the dual purpose there. You're not only assessing them, but you're getting to establish some rapport with that student one-on-one too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goucher.
Ms. Laura, I know we love data in the educational realm. So when we track the students that have been in our VPK, we also track the students that have been someplace else, and then we also have the data on students that have never been, that come to kindergarten, and that's their first time stepping on campus. So I'd love for you to kind of share that with us, because that would probably highlight the benefits of our full-day program on how those students are then doing so, and maybe seeing that cohort as they go through their elementary life, or career, I should say, so, and see how beneficial us adding those extra days and putting that expense, how it's benefiting our students.
And we've been tracking that. And so our first group was in kindergarten this year, so I was going to pull also the retention and promotion rate of those kids to see, so when they finish this kindergarten year. So that's our first group, and then we'll have this group. So.
Yeah, and everything, it's just like with anything, it's not an X and an O. Because, for example, and I understand this, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying this is the reality of it. Some daycare providers, they won't allow, in other words, for kids to come to us and then come after school to a daycare.
They're going to charge that parent.
They're going to charge them all day for that right there. So they're going to take that certificate over there, and so there's kids that we're not going to get because of that. And it's because the parents work till 6 o'clock. I understand that, no problem with it. That's his life. And so there's, certain daycares and stuff like that. So your data is always a little bit skewed. Just FYI, just to remind the board, the reason we did this is, first off, we already have the personnel. It's we have to, by law, either a half a day during the year, all year, or all day during the summer. And so the board, since we have the personnel investment already, they're there. Some parents chose to pay for the extra half day. Well, the cost to us was fairly static. And so we just chose to do this because we have them already, the taxpayers pay for them already. And our goal is, and I do believe that if we open this up, like we're predicting, is that we're going to get these kids earlier, and especially the higher need kids earlier. And so when it comes into kindergarten, they're gonna be better prepared. So that's the hope, and here, that's the premise of everything that we're trying to do.
Also, we've been able to pull in the children who don't have transportation, the private daycare, and the Head Starts and things, they must drop off and pick up their children. And so for our ESOL families, I know that's been, we've had a huge increase in ESOL participation since we went to full day pre-K for free, and we've had an increase, so we're bringing in some of the lower income families that would not have access to pre-K at all with this. And Project Stellar has recognized that in our increase, and that since we're doing that, they've been able to help pre-K a little bit with some touch Chromebooks and things like that, because the board gave a little, they were able to give us a little, so that's been helpful too.
Are there any special accommodations for the pre-K kids on the bus? Do they sit right up front, or,
They sit in car seats near the front of the bus.
and they're away from the older kids?
That's correct.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes. And then our ones with special needs, of course, have specialized transportation on their IEP, and can access that as well.
I was just curious, when they come on a pre-K, do you, I mean, this is just probably no question, but do they come on knowing the alphabet or portions of the alphabet? And do you have them operating on computers at that age? You do?
We do. So our goal is for them to know all their letters, upper and lowercase, sounds, numbers 1 to 30. We want them to count to 100. The standards are, of course, not that high, but if we're going to aim high. And so that's our goal, and that's what we teach them. And most of them are ready to roll at that level. Yes, that we have computers in the classroom, and we have those touch Chromebooks too, so that we're trying to make sure they're using the mouse, they're using the trackpad, and that they can touch too. They prefer touch because of cell phones. That's what they're used to. Now, it's really hard to teach the mouse because of tablets and cell phones. I have seen the transfer from here to here is even increasingly difficult because of, I think, because of tablets and cell phones, smartphones.
That's amazing.
BPK is the new kindergarten.
It really is, yeah. In kindergarten, it's just, I mean, very academic.
We have beginning, ending sounds. We have
Right.
rhyming words, compound words,
They're writing their
segmenting,
name.
blending, first and last name.
Ms. Beechman, do you have anything you want to add?
I'm just very appreciative of the program and what the board has done for an all-day program. It's made a tremendous difference. You can just easily recognize students that have been in the VPK. And of course, I know that my opinion is biased, that we provide the better program versus a daycare. But when you look at our scores from Flippers, you can see that it is pretty accurate, that we can provide, and Laura does provide a lot of professional development for our VPK teachers, and that's very much appreciated. They can work with our kindergarten teachers so that our students are prepared what a kindergarten teacher needs their students to be ready to do. And they may not know all their upper and lower case letters, but I can promise you they know a lot more than they would have if they'd been sitting at home.
Terry, please report that. That's important.
Yes, sir.
The next thing you know, it's gonna be pre.
From birth to the grave.
As soon as they're born, they're over.
That's pretty much that way, so. I just want to say, so I know everybody here wears many hats. Ms. Laura also wears the hat of our homeless students, and just want to thank her. I had a student who graduated 2 years ago that took custody of her 10-year-old sister, so, and Ms. Laura was extremely helpful. So with that, and just appreciate all your efforts with those students, because we know what a struggle that is for a lot of them. So thank you very much for that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Laura. That was a great 3 minutes and 43 seconds.
Can't count for the questions.
I think as long as I've been on the board, that's the biggest grilling I've ever seen. That's good.
Yep.
That's good. And it's good to hear the report back. I don't think we started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So be anxious to watch it grow. Thank you for your work. We'll move on to item G, which is minutes of the April 9th board meeting. You all have those presented to you. Is there any Action.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the April 9th board minutes. Any discussion? Any additions or corrections?
No, Mr. Chair.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item H is your consent agenda. I know each of you have had an opportunity to speak with the superintendent. Any questions they had from him? Were there any questions or comments? This time, I'll open the floor for those.
I have something.
Okay.
It was the lunchroom, the Vine Group, and, we've done this before, maybe this has been answered, I just didn't know. Why no on the fruit juice, and yes on everything else, just didn't understand that one.
Julie's not here.
Do they have fruit juice? Right?
Yes, ma'am, I don't know, we're, Kim, were you, or Pam, at the bid meeting?
No, I don't know.
I can bring that answer back to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just strange, I don't. Yeah,
So,
I don't like, Ms. Cheryl Beecham's philosophy of lunches, but. Anyway,
but I'll find that answer for you.
okay, that's all I had, thank you very much.
I just had one, Mr. Law, on athletic trainer, did we include the language where we pay that on a monthly basis now? Or is that an annual payment?
It's a month,
Go
I'm sorry.
ahead.
It's a monthly, we do pay monthly.
Okay.
And then it does look like we have several people retiring. Oh, one more. Where was it? I saw that someone was retiring, a teacher effective April the 22nd. So what do? We just have a sub the rest of the year? Number 4.
Well, she's actually been gone already, on leave,
Uh-huh.
and that's the retirement date. She's on another type of leave already.
Oh, okay.
She's, matter of fact, Ms. Coon is in the place right now.
Let's see, Ms. Cheryl, so appreciate all her efforts, so, for the district, so, going into retirement. So, and then, I just, a comment about that athletic training. So, had a former classmate of mine who had a student who now, goes to that school to the east, so, red and white. And, so, Williston, so, anyway, whose, son plays baseball, and I guess took a baseball off the ankle and swole up and everything, and the athletic trainer saved them kind of a trip to Gainesville, so diagnosed things, kind of put them on the path instead of having to spend $45 for a copay and go over there and started a process that then they would probably stay off of it for 6 weeks if you go to the general practitioner and all those good things. So, but so it's definitely worth its weight in gold, so, and what a benefit that is to our students, so appreciate us continuing that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, Chris. I've seen firsthand, she's handled concussions and called parents to come up to the field, and she is all over the place, baseball, football. I'm actually seeing her for a football injury today with one of my sons, so it's definitely worth its weight in gold. She's wonderful. Haley.
Only other comment I had, we have 2 retirees. Miss Kelly Waters started in 1991. I was a sophomore in high school. She drove, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of miles across the south end of the county, but been a good employee and a great bus driver, and the kids loved her for years. So kudos to her, thank her for her service. And then Miss Sally Holden, which happens to be my mother-in-law. She started in 1996 in Wilson, has taught English for a long time, been a great asset to the school. So I didn't want to go unnoticed. There are a lot of years of service, and I don't want it to just be rubber stamped, because they help produce a lot of good kids.
Just an FYI, we're going to be at our, when we recognize our ESPs and Teachers of the Year, we're going to be also recognizing folks for service. And we got couple people there that are principals we're going to be recognizing that have been working longer than the principal's been alive. So, Italy County. So,
Is this a good
Fortunately,
place
that's
to work?
not me.
Is this a good- Any more comments on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve.
I was curious, you had your union letter in the union attorney was going to represent the board.
Oh, you're talking about our contract with our attorney?
Yeah. Was that duplicated 4 or 5 times in there, or was it 4 or 5 different letters that related?
now it's just some contracts for some, we have different reasons why we contract with it. And I think some of us are catching up on some back contracts. So,
It's labor, he does labor.
these guys are labor.
Yeah, I know. I just saw 4 or 5 letters there. I didn't read them closely, but it looked like some of the same language was in all.
Different dates.
Yeah. Some different dates in there.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Been a motion to approve and second the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. We'll move with superintendent's comments and recommendations.
Just a couple of things I want to update you on, some work that we've been doing, and we'll call on Barb first. Barb, one of the things that global politics has effectively become is our relationship with China. And some of you, especially if you have a child in school, and Chromebooks and parts, and currently right now, because of the trade agreements or lack of, we cannot get parts for our Chromebooks. And so that's caused some issues that we're having to work around with. And I'll let Barb kind of go off from there.
So yeah, as of this fall, we've not been able to get parts. So what we've done is we've worked with the vendor that we currently have the Chromebooks through. And what we're going to do is give us a buyback, and we're going to go to HP Chromebooks for next year. We are going to hold back some of the older Chromebooks. They've got another lot, Chromebooks after the year they're manufactured have a 5-year life of being supported by Google. So we're holding some back so we make sure we have them, especially at the middle school, because we're trying to do the one-to-one for high school and trickle it down. But with the remaining funds, we've ordered these new Chromebooks. We've held some back for use, and then we've held some back, and for lack of a better word, to cannibalize. So we're not selling these computers back and ordering our parts back. We're going to hold some back so we can use those computers to fix or update any of the ones that were with our last order. So I think Jeff has the numbers of how much we spent on this last order.
$325,000.
They should be here this summer, which is unusual. The last 2 years, we've not had the money because they release it so late that it's mid-year before we get the Chromebook. So this year, they've been ordered, and what will happen is we have an engraver that will put our information on the Chromebook, and so we can distribute those to the students at the beginning of the year next year. So Ron and his crew, and they usually get people from EFET to come in, and they just have to do an assembly line of just mass getting all these Chromebooks set up for the next year and out to the school. So it's going to be a really busy summer for them.
We talked to the principals at our last principal meeting. The big issue is having them to go, ready to go day one.
So the Chromebooks were manufactured.
The parts. Parts, yeah. We have different vendors we work with, and this one, initially it sounded like a good deal, a good price 4 or 5 years ago. Little did we know that this was going to happen. So
with this experience now, we're just gonna go to HP, do what that stuff. And hopefully that'll take care of the issues.
Google makes manufacturers come.
Different companies do, like the ones we have now use through Edugear, we have HP, Dell does them, but they're, as you know, with Dell products, they're more expensive. So, HP, and I don't have any prices, but we're the best deal for our money, as far as being a good product as well. Any other questions?
This is one-to-one, every student will have.
In high school, yes. And we're trying to trickle some of the money down, but we didn't have a lot of money left, so maybe as we get more incoming money, it's getting more out there. It's just, as long as they keep funding, we're going to keep trying to do
What is
that.
the problem with Chromebooks as far as the shelf life?
Your shelf life, like I said, is 5 years after manufactured. What that means is you can still use it after 5 years, but it Google doesn't give the updates. So basically, you know, and we have to, because we use them for testing, we've got to have the updated ones because the state has a certain version of Google that we're using, and yours, we always have to set our Google updates not to update too far ahead, because then it won't support the state, because the state's not always right where the current update is. So it's real important for those tested grade levels that they have the ones that are the ones that will be updated in with to support testing.
Is that something that could be later fixed?
I don't know.
Just seems, you know, if we buy textbook, of course they update and we have new textbooks. I can take a math book from 25 years ago and still educate on it.
And the students take Chromebooks home with them.
High schoolers can. So, and we've not really had the, you know, as far as the device, they're usually pretty good about that. The issue is using the chargers, as we know with our own kids, they've got phones and they lose the charger. And so that's been the issue with this current one, is the biggest hit has been the chargers. And so, again, we'll keep some of those back, but not all. This charger for the HP won't fit the charger for the Edugear. I mean, I've got a different Chromebook than some people, and so I actually ended up ordering an extra charger personally off of Amazon because
Are any of the textbooks on Chromebooks?
they're on our, we have a single sign-on ClassLink, and so they sit there.
Also, they can use.
They can get it through their Chromebook, yes. Or their phone, or,
Well, they don't have internet in their area.
I don't know if it's because it sits there, if they're able to access, I would have to check. But we really have not had a lot of pushback or get feedback that that's been an issue.
In today's world, we had this conversation before the meeting started, and I live in an area where this is very bad, but my son may have to go out on the porch with his phone up in the air like this to get a hotspot, but it's possible. In a pretty remote area, I'm not gonna say there's not signals, maybe Rosewood or somewhere that is, I mean, absolutely null and void, but they can download those while at school.
Yeah.
Right, and there's ways around it if they don't have it at home, so they can still do. This changed, as a parent of a student of a high school student, it's changed education.
It has. And
My
there's,
wife knows what every teacher's doing in every classroom, every single day with technology. He comes on and says, I don't have any homework. She goes, oh, I know. Because I got 3 alerts and she can look at what classes turned in. And it's,
sure wish I would have that one.
yeah, it is.
And it's amazing what these kids will do because we use Google because they can use Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Forms to complete assignments. And I would have a hard time doing it on the phone, and part of it is my eyes and my age. But these guys, you'll see them working on schoolwork on their phones, and I'm amazed because it's like, wow, that's a
They can
big
share,
sense.
if they miss today's class, they can share notes, and then they can ask another student who's in the class to share notes with them from the class.
And a lot of teachers use Google Classroom.
to answer your question, Mr. Terry, internet connectivity is a problem. And I know it's been an issue that the county commissioners have shared. It's been shared to our legislators, and we're in the process of trying to gather some information to take back to them because they understand. A couple of years ago, there was a push for rural infrastructure and North Florida broadband. That kind of bit the dust, but there are some rural legislators that are trying to tackle this project. So we're in the process of trying to get information from all areas of the county to say, this is what speeds I can get from AT&T for this amount, and where it works, where it doesn't.
What kind of district is trying to get
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's the things we talked about when we were up here.
Last time we were in Tallahassee, we talked about broadband access to the county.
I was, the last county commission meeting, I asked the county commissioners, I said, you know, we have a 2,000-foot tower that's not put in PDA. I said, what would be the harm of putting a transmitter up there so, you know, kids around the county, everybody in the county can have broadband access and they can brush it off on that. Has anyone thought about that? And that's, we've got a 2,000-foot tower, we can probably reach every home in the county.
When we were in Tallahassee the other day, the discussion, legislators are working on this on our behalf, but there's technologies now that probably make it simpler than that if they can do some things with electric companies. Like
There's a project, a pilot project in South Georgia where they're running it through the electric lines. So our legislators are have an eye on that, trying to see how that process works, because they know it would be beneficial not only to Levy County, but the Tri-County area and the Big Bend area, so all the way up through the Panhandle.
Or trying South Georgia?
Yes, sir.
It's a pilot project in South Georgia. When it comes to broadband, now I'll tell you, at my house, I have 3 kids that all have homework pretty well every night. Our broadband's so bad, we have to schedule with only one can work the internet at a time. That's how bad ours is. And we're in a fairly decent area. We're not out in sticks like Brad. We're here. And it's sticks. I mean, you know, I reckon we're the sticks of Bronson. But we talked to AT&T and they said, all we can get you is that. And for lack of a better way of explaining it is if you take the water hose, we're at the end of the road. We want to be away from you. And take that water hose, everybody you pass gets a little water off of it, by the time it gets to me, a whole lot of water. So our kids, one kid's time is 5 to 6, one kid's time is 6 to 7, kid's 7 to 8. Heaven forbid if somebody turns on Netflix or something like that. Just killed education in my house, watching movies. But now I will say also, something that Mr. Etheridge talked about, and I will say it here, I am impressed with the fact that your wife gets updates from the teachers at Wilson High School, and whoever's doing that needs to talk to the folks at Bronson High School. That's been a bone of contention that I've had for a while. The updating parents, we're asking them to follow Skyward and stay up to date on what's going on. We can't do it if the other side ain't putting it in. That's teacher specific. I'm not going to say any names, and I'd also like to follow up. I cannot remember her name, but Ms. Rivers put us in touch with a wonderful woman at Wilson Middle High School. What's her name? Ma'am? Tanya Taylor. I dare say we, the school board of Levy County, need to figure out a way to give that woman a stipend to educate other teachers throughout our county on how to properly use Google Classroom. My son has a teacher, I'm not going to call his name, who everything has to be done on Google Classroom. And my son will say, I don't know how to do that. So the concerned parent that lives at my house, that is my wife, will contact that teacher and say, how do you do this? And I don't like it when the teacher says, I don't know how to do that. So why'd you tell my kid?
She has done several summers of trainings, and she's done it after hours as well. So
I think if we're going to do it, we need to teach them how to do it. That's an issue. I know that wasn't what you were talking about, but that to me is an issue.
We've had her every year, she'll really never
She's
want to fall.
fantastic. Within 5 minutes of talking to my wife called back to that teacher and said, this is how you do it. Look over she's doing, and we'll get there. And she's, golly, it pains me to say this, but she's fantastic, and I sure hope she comes to Bronson next year. She is awesome. I'll swap 2 for 1 on that.
We've used her summers, we've used her after hours, but after hours, like in the fall, she does the Google Classroom at the beginning of the year. And she did them in the summer, but I kept getting repeat guests. I couldn't get the new people because they hadn't been hired yet. So we switched it to the fall so that we can get the new people exposed and using Google Classroom. So
I don't know if that qualifies, but professional development, they are leading that. It may not help our teacher, but it will definitely help our students, that our teachers know exactly what they're telling their students to do and how that process should go and all that. And once again, I haven't sold out anybody as far as what teacher said. I don't know how to do that after telling a child that don't know how to do it, how to do it. That's what they need to do. But 5 minutes of talking to Ms. Taylor was
another
amazing.
strong user is Aurelis. I personally watched her. She was hospitalized last year, and I came to visit her, and I watched her manage her classroom with a substitute in there through Google Classroom.
I tell you all that to say this. That Google Classroom is a fantastic tool and can be to the wonderful advantage of our students. But just like any other tool, if we have not shown people how to properly use that tool, it's something as simple as a hammer. If you swing it on the wrong side, it ain't never gonna drive that nail.
Exactly.
May I just say, it always comes back to the teacher, no matter what the program is. It always comes back to a highly effective teacher. And one other thing I'd like to just reiterate with our young people that are here today, I want to make sure that you guys heard that those Chromebooks are costing $325,000 of the board's money, and how valuable they are to you, and that you can go back and spread that message to your counterparts at school, and that charger is important to keep up with, because when we have to replace those, that's taking money that we could be spending on other things for you guys to have quality education. So those are things that need to be taken care of.
Thank you, Ms. Beach.
And Terry, that, for your articles purposes on internet connectivity, I had to take my son in an hour early this morning because I do live in the 6 too. We didn't have the ability to get on last night, so he had to go to the ag shop this morning to do his math homework. So it is an issue.
And it's not just connectivity, but what hurts us here in Lee County and in other counties like us, and if you recall, when we had our legislative delegation, one of the reasons I brought this up is that the DDoS, or the protection that we have to do to keep our lines open here. And like when we were sitting down with the Marion County delegation, it says, oh, we don't have that problem because they have multiple internet service providers.
They just
And that drives that, it's accessibility and it drives the cost down when you have multiple, you know, if you only have Ford available to you, the Ford dealership, that's all you can go to. You know, they're not gonna give you the customer service like they can if you have Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Datsun, or Nissan, or Joe maybe Datsun on that. But if you have competition, so.
Ashley, so you said you had to take your son to the ag shop just to get internet,
Just so he could connect on the Chromebook, because we didn't have internet.
So
And we have a Netflix issue. We can only do one thing at a time, but sometimes we have no service. A lot of times we have no service.
So the moral of the story, Mr. Witt, if you write an article, would be everybody in Levy County contact your representative in Tallahassee for rural internet service.
Not only does
I
this
never had to go
affect
through the McDonald's.
education,
Oh, I still do that. Yeah.
but think about the commerce that could be driven, business that could be going on here.
They don't come.
Businesses won't relocate here because they don't have high-speed
I mean,
internet.
it all connects together.
Businesses won't come here because we don't have high-speed internet.
A lot of them don't,
We don't
yeah,
have that
it's
system.
an issue.
Mine in town, just as it has nothing to do with school, it has to do with the internet service. It was, 16th, April 16th. Clear sky, everything was wonderful. No internet in the town of Bronson. AT&T was down. And that shut down hardware store, all of the gas stations, the banks. 16.
I remember because I lost my internet too.
You could not buy a sandwich in this town if you had a debit card. You better, and you couldn't go to the bank and get no money because they can't register it. So you,
And if school would have been in session, all the schools would have been shut down, because we know how that happened. You know, we get these calls, our internet's working, and Ron checks, and it's AT&T's out over in Williston or over in Chiefland, and
If that happens during testing, what happens?
but, we really we've never had it, thank goodness, but there's a really big, you know, we try to get as aggressive as we can, but.
and it's not a once in a blue moon thing. It's
All the time.
you can pretty well count on 2 or 3 times a month. You're going to lose internet in Bronson, Florida. I don't know about the rest of the county, but Bronson, you go, well, they must be a day off because we ain't got no internet today.
I pay for 2 internet services when I have a little switch, I can switch back and forth, so the credit card machine won't go down, because it's gonna happen.
I have one of those mobile
Yeah.
cellular things that goes down. I can't run certain things, but I can still stay open.
I contacted AT&T, we had some interesting conversations, but it was pretty much dead on their end because they didn't know why we didn't have internet.
Yeah, they don't ever have an answer for it, do they?
I just got a quick question.
Yes.
Do we communicate to them when we're having those testing days to say how important, is there a way to?
I don't know, because when they go down, like the last time they went down for us in our schools, they said it wasn't down.
Right.
I mean, we're having to fight them. Yeah, it is, because everyone's down, and
I just didn't know if there was a way to.
I don't even know.
You're one post hole bigger away from shutting the whole
Oh,
county
yeah.
down.
That has happened. That's what's happened. That has happened.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah, I've had the time when I've called them and said, hey, internet's down, what's the story? We show it up and running. Well, that guy that just cut the line right over there has ended it for me. I've seen the AT&T, you can always tell too, the AT&T guy will be out there digging, and all of a sudden you see him go, oh, like that. And you go, well, we got it. So, it's one post hole digger away from shutting the county down, that's right.
All right, is there any more conversation or questions? We appreciate the update there, and that gives us a direction, and I'm sure exciting that we're gonna have them the first day of school.
And that's the main thing I want to
That's awesome. We've had to wait in the past.
work with our principals to make sure that we get them on first day.
I think Chromebooks is $325,000.
I couldn't tell you that number offhand. I'd have to check with Ron.
5. They're the really good ones.
I think it's every kid 8 to 12. It's 8 to 12.
All right, we'll roll into board comments. We'll start on the other end today.
Hold on, grab my notes. Don't have much coming off of spring break, other than May is super busy. We have testing and banquets and awards banquets. Yankeetown has their spring student showcase, and every student at the school is gonna have a piece of artwork of some kind, which is pretty neat. And that is on, I don't know, the end of April, Thursday night, yes, it is.
Just FYI, that's where that came from back there from last year.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to go. So that's really all. We have a big month coming up, so.
Yeah, art classes again?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and this is art and science. We're going to mix it all, so it's going to be a kind of an art and science showcase on Thursday night.
I thought art had disappeared from the public school system. Completely.
That's what's in the school.
Everywhere.
Every elementary school.
Yeah.
We
They do
got,
those kind of things
2
in
years
Washington County. They have
2 years
that.
ago, we were able to put it back in, so Cedar Key and Yankeetown split 3 days a week in one school, 2 in the other, and then it flips the next week. So they alternate back and forth.
2 years ago, you put art back in the schools.
Yes, sir.
I like that.
It's a priority for the board. Ms. Barb's got it.
No less than 1,400 Chromebooks will be ordered.
No less than 14. That finish you,
That's, yeah, that's all.
Mr. Asbell?
I don't have a whole lot. If social media is to be believed, the children as well as the teachers needed and loved spring break. But that being said, now we have to get really serious because it is a busy time. On some highlight things, I'm not going to steal the thunder of other people, unlike Ms. Crookins. If you will notice, we've seen all kinds of announcements that our students are being recognized statewide from all our schools throughout this county and various organizations and clubs and those kind of things. It's really kind of cool, kind of neat, and really exciting to see what all plays out here. I am proud of something that's happening at Bronson High School for the first time in multiple years. This year, we will have some students with some industry certifications coming through the shop class that will be presented. That's the first time they've done that in quite a while. Mr. Meyer stepped in there and has done a fantastic job. We're going to have kids ready to go into work when they get out of school, and that's pretty neat. So that's the gist of all I have right there.
Thank you, Mr. Adler.
Friday is the Young Authors Conference at Cedar Key School, so I know you guys were invited with Miss Kathy came a couple weeks ago. Please come down if you have an opportunity. It's just a wonderful thing that's continued on for, how did they get them?
How do you get it?
Well, like each student writes their own book. So
I agree, couple years ago, Mr. Slim brought us.
So I will commandeer some books, so, and bring up as some examples for you to look at today.
Sweet, those are cool times.
But just a wonderful thing that we don't test on, but those kids sure do get excited, and especially the mamas and daddies and grandmas and grandpas that are able to come there. So, and those kids get to sit in their author's chair and read to that class. It's just a unique thing that Cedar Key does. So, and then on Saturday, we have 7 students heading down to track regionals. So, doing everything from pole vault to high jump to adaptive shot put and adaptive 200 meters and I believe 800 meters, 400 meters and 800 meters. So we have 2 students that do adaptive track. They are ESC students, and those 2 students have been state champions the last 2 years. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and predict that we're going to be state champions again. So those 2 students excel, and it's another way that we're kids that are having opportunities. So to go and compete, and appreciate all the efforts that go into that. So
Where are they going?
track regionals, I believe, is at Cypress Creek High School. So which I'm not positive on that. So for that one. So I'm not attending that. So I'm just going to wish them good luck and pray for safe traveling. So.
And then on the Young Authors, which has been doing a long time, and it's a great, great, great thing. If anybody is not, if they've never gone, it's fabulous in Cedar Key. But in the past, they had like a feature author that's, published.
They do?
Who was it this year?
That I don't know. So good it is.
Oh, okay. But it's great. If you've never been, it's amazing.
And they got the rocket launch.
They got that coming up too, so that's in May. So yes.
Yeah, that's good. I just think we've had a great board meeting and everything positive and all the good things that we're doing in our schools, and just a lot of great things from pre-K all the way up to the high schools and the Chromebooks and just everything. And our schools are just great. Just please put that out there, Terry. We're doing some wonderful things and keeping our art and our music. And but also I'd like to bring up to the board that last year, and I think in the past, I don't really know how many years, I can't remember, but we have supported the FFA alumni in the Bull Bash, and we put an ad in. And our ad does need to be updated if we choose to vote on this and do this ad again. And with a new picture, Ashley, we need Ashley in the picture. So if you would like to support this again and put an ad in their program for the FFA alumni.
Full page, is that what we did?
Yes, we did.
It's $100 for
$100.
So that's what we're going to make that.
Okay. We'll go ahead and do
Joe
it.
percentage, we'll do that.
Okay.
I had one other thing. I just collected. He had a student athlete the Friday before we got out for spring break that signed a college scholarship to go play basketball and track. So she's our 2nd female athlete that we've had signed from Cedar Key. But I want to thank Ms. Barb and Ron and Superintendent, everybody that kind of put this into place and started the wheels. So the coach couldn't be there, but he Skyped in. So we had the whole entire student body, which obviously isn't a whole lot, so but 250 kids there to see the hard work and then to see it come to fruition. So Jasmine Jackson, so just a unique thing that hopefully will spark more kids to be able to go off and do great things, so.
And what's very good is you stay home.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Just a few, Mr. Asbell, I agree, it's probably time for teachers, parents, everybody to have spring break. Board member, it's good to have a spring break. It's good to have a spring break. Friday, or last Saturday was state livestock judging contest. We placed, Wilson placed 7th. I will admit, she placed 6th. But we turned around last week and Wilson placed 3rd, and he's judging. And I didn't see Chief on that, but anyway. The Stars Over Florida, all of you probably saw that list of Levy County students that come out, and I guarantee you, the Stars finalists and proficiency finalists, Levy County is probably in the 70th percentile, top 4. I watched, yes, Williston, of course, I look at Levy County, Chief in the office, there's a great job, I promise you. Williston students succeed. I mean, we have some Stars finalists that'll be on stage for Star State Farmer, Star Chapter, and but multiple proficiency top 4 finalists. And I just got an email while we were sitting here just a minute ago. Florida announces FFA of the year finalists, and Natalie Cooey is in the top 4 for state. So yeah, Levy County FFA doing great things, led the charge finalists.
I'd say that Region 2 is dominating those Stars.
Region 2, there.
Region 2.
Region 2, that's correct. Any other items? We will have a board workshop here starting, what was that going to be at 9:45, but we're doing it at 10:10, 10:15. We'll take a 10-minute break for, get prepared for the workshop starting.
What's the workshop about? Strategic plan.
Essentially, the OPOs and the
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Passed by general consent if there are no objections.
No objections.
Thank you.